Hello everyone, welcome to Edubbey Global Solution. Today we'll be discussing what is known as demand. Now, what do we mean by demand? Demand can be defined as the ability and the willingness to buy a product. That is just the definition of demand. That is to purchase or to buy a product. Now, moving to the next slide where we have price, demand, and quantity. Now, what is the relationship between price, demand, and quantity? The higher the price of a commodity, the lower the quantity of the commodity demanded, and vice versa. Now we have a diagram here which is showing the movement along the demand curve according to the price. We have from price 12, 10, 7. Now we have a contraction along a demand curve, which means a reduction in the quantity demanded as a reason of the higher in price of the commodity. Now we have an extension along the demand curve, which arises as a result of lower in price of a commodity. Now moving to the next slide where we have an activity. We have the price of a product rise. What will happen to the demand for its complement? We just said that. Now let us use the law of the demand, which says the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. Now, if the price of a commodity rise, what will happen to the demand? Now it will decrease, it will contract, increase, or extend. It will decrease according to our law. Now move to the next activities by its side. We have price is measured on a vertical axis of a demand diagram. Is that so? Let us look at our previous graph. We have, is it price that is measured on the vertical axis? Yes, of course, price is measured on the vertical axis. So we have the answer to be true. Now let's check. Wow, that's good. Now moving to the next slide where we have individual and market demand schedule. Want to know the difference between individual and market demand schedule. Now, individual demand schedule is a table showing the amount of products an individual is willing to buy at different prices. Now, as you can see, this diagram showing just one individual demand schedule at different prices and different quantity demanded by the consumer. Now we have a market demand schedule. It's a table showing the total, that is aggregate demand for a product at different prices. Here we have the price and the quantity demanded by A, quantity demanded by B. Now we have the market demand as the addition of the quantity demanded by consumer A and consumer B. Moving to the next slide where we have the individual and market demand curve relating to our individual and market demand schedule. Now we have this to be individual, and the addition of the individual demand curves is market demand curve. Moving to the next slide where we have an activity here. What happened to people's willingness and ability to buy a product when its price fall? Now this is also relating to the law of demand. Now, what happened to the people's willingness and ability to buy if the price fall? That is, there is lower in the price. Now the willingness and ability is supposed to increase. Now let us check the option. Decrease, no. Increases, yes. That's the answer. Moving to the next slide where we have shift in demand curve, which is also known as change in demand curve, not change in quantity demand again, because change in quantity demand means the movement along a demand curve. But shift in the demand curve, there is a shift in the demand curve if there is an increase or decrease in demand without any changes in price of a commodity. That is, as the current price, a consumer may decide to buy less of the commodity or more of the commodity. Moving to the next slide where we have an activities. This is also part of your past question. Now let us try it. A government remove the quota on goods imported into the country. Now, what is the most likely result of this? The government remove quota on goods imported to the country. It means the price of short good will increase. That is, there must be a decrease in for the domestic production of the products. Now, correct. Moving to the next slide, where we have causes of shift in the demand curve. Now, what can cause a shift in the demand curve if the price is as constant? Now, we have change in income. If there is an increase in change in income of a consumer, that means the consumer may require to buy more of the commodity, or if there is an increase, if there is a decrease, he will also buy less of the commodity. Now, change in population, also change in taste in fashion. That is, if the taste favor the consumer, he or she may decide to buy more of the commodity. And also change in price of other commodity. Now, another activities, banks decrease interest rate. What is likely to be affected? What is likely to be the effect of this on borrowing and saving? Now, according to our law again, bank decrease interest rate. Now, what is likely to be the effect of this on borrowing? Now, if bank decrease interest rate, people will be willing to borrow money while people will be afraid of saving. Now, borrowing should be rise while saving should be fall. Now, let's check the correct answer. Wow, that's good. Moving to the next activity. This is also part of your past question. Now, the diagram shows the demand curve for coffee in the US. Now, we are going to use the law again here. Looking at this diagram, why did the quantity demanded move from Q1 to Q2? Now, let us check from Q1 to Q2. Coffee became cheaper. Is it sure? No. Let us check. It's supposed to be the answer. Incomes roses in the US. Is that so? If that's so, that means the price is not supposed to be 2. Now, the price of substitute for coffee rose. No, that's not the answer. Coffee become cheaper because, as you can see, from P1 it goes down to P2. That is why we have the movement from P1 to Q2. Wow, that's amazing. Moving to the next slide, we also have an activity here. It's also one of your past questions. People's income decrease. How is the proportion spent on food and leisure likely to change? Now, let us think of this. People's income decreases. Wow, people's income decreases. How is the proportion spent on food and leisure likely to change? Of course, proportion of spent on food will increase while the leisure is going to reduce. Why? Because food is important to human being. There is no person that cannot do without food. Now let us check the answer. Food will increase while leisure will decrease. I think the option is around option number 2. Now, amazing. That will be the end of our class. Stay tuned to our website www.edubbey.com. See you soon.